Okay, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. To start, thank you everybody. Hello, and I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for listening today, and I really want to take the time to thank Mary for the invitation to present today, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to make a bit of advertisement and communication around this initiative on an equitable and inclusive pharmaceutical strategy for the European Union. So I'm Éloïse Gennet. I'm a postdoc at the University of Aix-Marseille, and I'm co-leading this thematic network with Aurélie Mahalatchimy, who's a CNRS permanent researcher in law and chair of our interest group. I say our because it's going to be myself and Aurélie presenting, but this initiative is being made on behalf of the interest group on supranational biolaw from the European Association of Health Law. And I see we have quite a few other members of this group in the audience today, so thank you for being here as well. And of course, first and foremost, Mary Guy, who's also a member of this interest group. Next slide, please. So a bit more on the association first. So it aims to strengthen health and human rights through academic excellence in Europe, and most of us indeed work in academia and in research institutions. And within the association, we have this interest group focusing in particular on supranational biolaw. Thus, our members are experts in legal or policy issues arising from technological advances related to medicine and biotechnology, in addition to a more general expertise in national and European health law. So one of our aims is to foster exchange with society at large, and thus becoming an official thematic network for 2021 from the European Commission is giving us this privileged platform to collaborate with major stakeholders, health stakeholders in the European Union, and complement our legal and academic expertise, and also to communicate directly with the European Commission, and more particularly with the Directorate General on Health. Next slide, please. So we applied for this thematic network and have been selected now during the summer, and the official kickoff meeting took place in the end of September, so it's still quite fresh. But our actual and concrete activities will already start this November, so very soon. What we wish to do, what we announced in the proposal, is that we want to reaffirm health as a fundamental value, and to support the European Commission and the member states to foster an inclusive pharmaceutical strategy. So the first objective is to promote the crucial role of DG Santé in actively conducting the health and pharmaceutical policy in an equitable way. And for this to happen, we also have two further objectives. So one is focused on rather research and development strategies, and on how to promote patient-centered approaches and innovations that offer solutions to health inequalities and unmet medical needs, like AMR or orphan and pediatric drugs, for instance, and notably when it involves advanced therapies. And the other one is focused on access to pharmaceuticals and how to foster solidarity and equity, and for example, by addressing intellectual property constraints, market incentives, or the affordability of innovative therapies, especially with biomedical or digital technology. I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Now, why this focus? I'm sorry. On the pharmaceutical strategy? Well, historically, the pharmaceutical legislation has been built with an internal market objective in mind, yet the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted many loopholes carrying on pre-existing health inequalities, and society is now ready and eager for all EU policies to be inclusive, and even more so in health, even more so after realizing how much of an added benefit the European Union can bring to health. And in fact, EU has shown unprecedented solidarity to promote equitable access to medical supplies and COVID-19 vaccines, and it should continue beyond health emergencies only, and beyond crisis situations, because striving for a true health resilience in the EU will require ambition, and including the one of promoting health as a fundamental value in itself, and because it is such a transversal topic and decisive topic for all policies and stakeholders. Next slide, please. Now, how do we want to proceed? We first want to engage with the largest community of stakeholders possible using the EU health policy platform to build synergies and then better map the existing issues to be tackled for an inclusive pharmaceutical strategy. So that's our second point. And we will organize webinars on targeted case studies from various stakeholders' perspectives, but Aurélie will be giving a little bit more details on those. And last but not least, we want to provide a joint statement. That's the whole point of the thematic networks. And we want it to be as widely endorsed as possible. I'm very sorry about that. The members of our interest group find themselves in the interface between each one's respective institutions, such as universities and research organizations and the European Association of Health Law. So we would like to, as many of those, to contribute to the discussion on top of all the health stakeholders organizations that will be involved. And I will give the floor to Aurélie to give a bit more detail on our upcoming webinars and our method.
Thank you, Éloïse. Next slide, please, Mary. So I will go a bit more deeper in the explanation of our methodology to meet these objectives. First aspect is to build synergies with other health stakeholders and initiatives. And so the European Union Health Policy Platform has a wide meaning of health stakeholders, but it basically includes the patient association and every association or organization which have an interest in health. And so to build this synergy, we first use the European Union Health Policy Platform. And here we can publish posts and have the online discussion on a dedicated area on this platform. Then we can publish news that will be related within the newsletter of the European Union Health Policy Platform. Then we also build synergy within our own institution, and in that context, the specificities of our interest group is to group members that are generally from law faculties from different European universities, and so most of our members communicate within their university to mobilize other researchers, so not only legal academics, but other researchers working in the field of health, so that they can contribute also to this work. And then we also have direct contact via emails or meetings, such as this meeting, with identified health stakeholders. And really the object is to first identify who could be interested, and then to ask them to if they are interested in contributing. So to do that, first people need to be registered on the European Union Health Policy Platform, and when it concerns health organizations, they have to be registered on the European Union Transparency Registry first. And then only after these two steps, the discussion can start on the thematic network on the platform. Next slide, please, Mary. Then the second aspect of our methodology is to map the existing issues. And here it is especially an aspect where we hope that the audience can contribute to help us identifying these issues. So we have done first work within the interest group, and the issues identified have been built on the various legal expertise of our members. And so the issues are mainly political legal. Then we have asked, and we are still asking to other health stakeholders, either on the platform. I think we haven't started so much yet, but mainly via emails and contacts to identify these issues according to their own experiences. And with the European Commission has specific expectations on specific topics and issues. And then within the group, we centralized these identified issues, and we group them as relevant with the idea of sharing the work for building the final joint statement. Next slide, please, Mary. Then the third step is to organize webinars. So we have planned to organize 4 webinars, each one including at least presentation from one legal expert and also presentation from another health stakeholder. This presentation being followed by a general discussion. We have decided within the group that both legal and non-legal aspects should be covered, and especially political ones, that we should consider the EU competencies both from an internal and an external point of view, and that we should, of course, build on existing works and experiences of health stakeholders. And then our webinars will be around most probably 1 hour and a half with 15-minute talks and 30 minutes general discussion. In fact, it is very short. The European Commission wanted 1 hour, but because we have this large perspective of having every time legal contribution and other contribution, we have asked for to have a bit more time for these webinars. So with the idea of covering all these aspects identified, not all, sorry, to identify aspects, to cover aspects identified by the group and by the European Commission. But of course, we could not cover all these aspects within the webinars, but all these aspects should be covered within the joint statement. Next slides, please, Mary. So at the moment, we have more advanced on the organization of the webinars. So they will, so the months when they will take place are now known. The first webinar will probably be around 24th November. This date should be confirmed by the European Commission still, and it will be on the EU values and inclusive digital health, with one general aspect covered by a legal expert who is a colleague member of the group and who is in the audience with Marcus Frischroth. And so considering health as a value and non-discrimination and solidarity to be promoted, building on its own Jean Monnet share. And then a more specific aspect to be addressed on health digitalization and health equity, especially regarding data-driven technologies and artificial intelligence as regard as non-discrimination and vulnerable groups. And here the aspect of non-discrimination as regard as artificial intelligence is really something that has been requested by the European Commission. And here also we have several organizations who have answered positively. Then the second webinar will be in December and will be on regulatory possibilities for the European Commission in health, with a general aspect to be covered by Charlotte, who is here also in the audience, and by Tamara, who is also here in the audience, and Mark Fleer, who is a co-chair of the interest group with me. So considering the EU competency in health, both internally and externally, and health in all policies, and whether we should change the treaty or not, and what could be done. And of course, highlighted the role of DG Santé in health. And then the most specific aspect would be also the question of patent issues and inequalities that can result in the way patents are regulated within the European Union and outside regarding third countries. And also the links, the challenges of implementing both the medicines and the genetically modified organism legislation at the same time, especially for gene therapy medicinal products. And then the third webinar will be on financing possibilities for the European Union Health. And here, so this still need to be organized. We have in mind general issues as identified by the group. So political and legal issues linked to the financing, the development of pharmaceuticals. Here we have in mind mainly medicines and vaccines. So all along their life cycle. So considering EU health budget, research funding, pricing of medicine vaccine, and health technology assessment and patient access to pharmaceuticals. And then in that context, we want to highlight more specific issues, which again have been requested, highlighted by the European Commission. So they concern the public-private partnership. So it's not exactly how the European Commission has considered this aspect. They speak more about fostering the interaction between academia and regulator and industry. And so we have in mind that public-private partnership may be a solution to facilitate translational research, but of course the webinar hopefully will offer other suggestions, solutions to foster this translational research, to have more inclusivity and solidarity. And then the last webinar will be aimed to discuss the entire draft joint statement so that we can finalize it. Next slide, please, Mary. And then, indeed, the last part is to provide a widely endorsed joint statement. So this statement should be joint. That's why we want to take into account the input from as much as interested health stakeholders. And for each identified issues, we will discuss and provide recommendations. So either during the webinars or through the discussion on the EU platform, in accordance with the 3 elements of our proposal that we will use as a grid of analysis. So as presented by Éloïse before, how could the role of the European Commission evolve? How could we have more patient-centered approaches and inclusive research and development strategies? And how could we favor solidarity, trust, and equitable access to pharmaceuticals? And as I said before, of course, the content of the joint statement will go beyond the topics chosen for the webinar presentation. And then this joint statement should be endorsed. So this is very linked to the part, task 1, first part of our methodologies in building synergies. And we have already contacted various health organizations. So some are here on the slides, and many of them have already positively answered, thanks to the involvement of all our members. Next slide, please, Mary. And I think it is Éloïse now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take over, but I'll just say I see we have also a representative from the standing committee of the permanent committee of medical doctors, European doctors today. So thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So, but just quickly, I know the Standing Committee for European Doctors is already registered on the platform, but for those who would want to join this initiative, so it can be a bit tricky at the beginning to actually enter the platform, because you're you need to be registered, and then you need to require access to the Agora, to the thematic network. So here, I think the slides will be shared afterwards, so you will be able to click on the link to and follow the process. But if you have any trouble joining the platform and our online page for the thematic network, don't hesitate to contact me. I will gladly help you. Next slide, please. Because the goal of this platform, of being able to contribute on the platform, is to interact, so with us, with the members of our group, but also with the other health stakeholders who have joined already. This is where we are going to post all the relevant news, where others will be also able to post some news. This is also where all the webinars will be advertised, and this is also through this platform that the webinars will happen, actually. So this is this will be the occasion to join the webinars and actually contribute to the discussion live, online, or live during the webinars. And of course, if you can also just send us an email if there is a specific topic that you would want to see in a joint statement, if you have ideas or just reflections that you don't feel comfortable posting on the platform, you can also just write to us. This is no problems, feel free. But I think the online platform is also a good tool, and that's also what the commission is expecting us to make a little bit lively. So don't hesitate to ask me if you have any problem accessing that. And just next slide, please, Mary, for just the thank you slide. Thank you for your attention and your time, and we're open to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Éloïse and Aurélie. I will just stop the recording now. Okay.